Tick tock, it's 5:30 and we are live here tonight at the Art of Being a Powerful Woman. My name is Anastasia Mongeluzzo and I'm here to talk tonight about setbacks, what they really are and how to actually manage them. You know, a lot of times things go on in our lives as women and we're trying to focus and create goals and create all these wonderful, wonderful things, and these setbacks, which some people that have joined the group, they have described them as such. This is a setback. How do I deal with these setbacks? And so, boy, what a great question. How do I really deal with these setbacks? You know, don't you just want things to go right? Don't you want things to go the way that would be nice and easy? And so this is actually a subject very near and dear to my heart. And as always, every Tuesday night when I come on live with our question and answer, I'm going to invite you to say hello. Let me know that you're there. If you like something I'm saying, give me a thumbs up or a heart. Let me know that you're feeling what I'm saying. If you have a question or something that you want me to go deeper into, please leave a comment in the comment section. And because this is interactive, and if there's something that you want, hi Julie, thank you so much. Thank you. So if there's something that you want clarity on and I'm not quite going to that direction, please let me know. But otherwise, this will be an intuitive guidance message for you relative to setbacks, which again, we all have. And I think identifying with the year that's passed, people would say that this was an extraordinary circumstance of said setback. And again, I'm like, I don't love that, name, but we're going to talk about what that is. And so, we have so many new women joining this group, and I just want to thank all of you for bringing your energy in and being here with us, because you're so important. And as we come together as a collective, as we move forward to the leading edge to find those solutions that really exist, and it's just a matter of doing a little bit of a shift sometimes, just looking that way when you wouldn't have looked that way before. And so again, thank you for being here. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Anastasia Mongeluzzo, and I'm going to tell you my story, which I usually share so that you can get to know me. But this is a perfect story for setbacks. Okay. So, and I'm going to just, let you know what I'm talking about here, because, I've been a energy healer, a massage therapist for 20 years. I graduated college and as an exercise scientist, and then of course, life and the synchronicities of life drew me to the human energy field. And I was like, how do you work with that? And in Delaware, it was like, you have to have a massage therapy license. So that's literally what I did. And it was like being drawn to the light. And of course, I got a raft of shit about it from people that had the expectations of when you graduate college and all these other things, right? So, but I was young enough and bold enough that I was going to push through. And so that's what I did. And I ended up opening up a practice that has existed over the last 19 years. And I've worked with, tens of thousands of people on the table, off the table, creating, my own personal practice and bringing myself into it. And, as a healer, being, having to get more CEUs every year, it was about learning new things. And let me tell you, you are always, the first one that, when you're called to learn something about something, there's something inside of your body that you need to transform. And so over and over, I did this. And in the beginning, it was with complete resistance. I was like, if I didn't have to do this, there's no way I would do this. And of course, I had no idea what that was that I was doing. I just put my head down and I did it. And so time went on, and, my practice is growing, everything's substantial. I ended up getting married, having 2 beautiful children, and things were really getting more stressful for me because I couldn't, it's like I had this structure that I built things on, and I had my kids, and it was like, but I was starting to realize that I wasn't fulfilled because everything was, moving forward in a certain way. But it was okay, because each year, and I'm gonna talk about this later specifically, there was challenges that came up, which you might phrase tonight as a setback, and talk about setbacks. And every time it's like I felt like I get knocked to the ground. I used to describe it, it's like somebody just hit me on the side of the face with a 4x4 and I didn't see it coming, and it would really hurt my ego, and it would hurt my expectation and the certainty that I was looking for from all of the hard work that I was putting into my practice. Of course, I didn't know what I didn't know, and so those feelings of discouragement really would hit hard. And so when that would happen, I would ask a question to Spirit and say, what am I supposed to do with this? What do I do next? And so from there, I ended up at an empowerment seminar in 2011. I walked my first firewalk and I realized I was afraid of every single thing. But I was still strong enough, right? I had the certainty, I had the practice and all these kinds of things. And so I added coaching into my things and started creating workshops to educate people about their human energy field. And I felt it was so important. It wasn't just about me doing it for them. It was about you, learning about you. And I thought that makes sense to me, but why, right? And so then I kept going, right, for years and years, and I moved a couple different times, and those were very difficult. When I first moved after 11 years, I felt very defeated. I felt like, why didn't this work out? There was incredible amounts of conflict going on within the building I was in, and I remember leaving that day and just sobbing because I thought I failed because I had to leave. And at the same time, you know, people will tell you, well, when one door closes, another door opens. And so, of course, I get it. But I was also like, so what? This sucks for me? Whatever. Okay, so we move on. We move on and keep building and keep doing new things. But, I was doing all of this stuff. I was doing, hands-on work still. I was doing coaching and really wanting to bring my coaching practice online. And in 2019, it was a turning point for me because I realized how much I didn't have boundaries. I realized how much that I was letting my business run me and not run my business, and all of these different things. And I was bleeding out my energy, and it was really affecting me. I gained quite a bit of weight over the years, the last 5 years especially, and I was incredibly embarrassed because I felt like that was a failure. It didn't matter anymore how hard I worked out or if I went on a diet. It was really, really difficult, and I felt like everybody was just sort of watching me, just feel the pressure on and on and on, and I didn't understand what was going on. So anyway, I decided that I was going to quit the body work and hand that over to some other people, and we were all coming together in this beautiful office that I worked hard on, painted everything's so beautiful. And and so there was a shift in my business, which it put me into a place that I wasn't used to because I wasn't going to work as hard as I used to work. I mean, I really worked hard, and I just realized how much it was affecting me, but it also affected me financially. So we come in the turning point of 2020, and I'm looking at this place like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get up again. I'm going to find the solutions, and that's when COVID hit. So I wasn't in a strong point in that business anyway when COVID hit. And it took me to my knees. This wasn't a setback. I got buried alive. And I had to make decisions, right? So everybody, not just me, but the collective was, terrified with the things that are going on. What does this mean for our reality? What does this mean for us as we live and breathe in our bodies, in our society, and how we relate to our society? So not only was that happening outside, but this thing inside of me was happening. And I just thought, one more hit. It's like you take one more hit and then it's like you're done, And I thought, I don't even know what to do. And it wasn't getting hit and falling down. It was, no. Somebody just dug a 6-foot grave, put me in it, and then put all the dirt on top. And I was sitting there like, well, if this is the case, why don't you just let me die? Why don't you just let me go? Because right in this position, I couldn't shimmy. I couldn't do something else that made me comfortable. I couldn't not look at this setback that was a complete deconstruction of my life. And so through the 30 days of April, I had to come to terms with things. And I heard, because I thought all these things that I've studied, all these things that I've done over the 20-year period of my life that I was absolutely in love with and passionate about and thought I was in line with my purpose. And I felt like it all got destroyed. And so, I sat there, and in my greatest pain, I heard my inner being, and I heard my spirit come in and tell me, this is what you're going to do, and you're going to do this for 30 days, and then after the 30 days, you're going to know. And so I went through this transformation like I never had before. I came out on the other end, and I saw not really a clear picture of what I was going to do, but I created something out of everything that I've ever done, and I put it together in a beautiful package, which is my Invincible program. And so I tell you all of this to let you know that everybody does know, right? If you're on this page, you probably have some kind of, you've done personal growth, you probably know a little bit about mysticism, you're interested in different things, but it's really not just about candy coating things or going and getting a Reiki session. It's about taking personal responsibility so that when you become an empowered woman, that you understand that it is in fact your choice and that you can choose. And that, it's okay to get knocked down and it's okay to not understand. But don't want to say it like that, but it is a part of life, and it's designed for us in a specific way. And so as soon as we're able to see with eyes, to see the design behind any setback that we have created for ourselves, because we do create these things. Okay. It's funny. It reminded me, I mean, just, you look back on your life, and I remember when I was in college, I paid my way. I worked in restaurants the whole time. I mean, I never rested. And I remember after graduating, like, Spirit was like, they wanted me to leave this one job. And I was like, no, my friends are here and this and that. No. Well, I ended up getting fired. And I was like, me? What? It was insane. It was an absolute insane thing. And I got fired, and I was devastated because I had so much pride in what I had become, like, to manage all of these different things. And then the next job, I didn't get fired, but Spirit was like, you gotta leave. And I had this really bad habit where I was like still holding on and saying, can I do this and this at the same time so I don't have to let go of anything? And so I look back and think, oh, that was pretty creative of me. But you know what? It wasted a whole lot of time and a whole lot of energy. And now after the 20 years since then, I can look and say, is this something that's serving me and I need to let go, and the setback and what it is? So what is a setback, right? A setback is really if you ever coach with us or you hear these videos, we're gonna refer to that as contrast. Contrast, right? So it's just like in art, if you have contrast, there's a negative space and then a space with some sort of color or shape or figure or something in it, right? And without that contrast, you can't see. And so within, if you look in, people will say the yin and yang, but the yin and yang, and you can say, oh, yin and yang, masculine, feminine energy, polarities. Yeah. But that's like the tip of the iceberg. What does that really, really mean as we deep dive into the yin and yang, components of our own being and how it relates to the yin and yang environment that we all live in? The reason why there's contrast, and contrast, let's say it's a law, because it's a universal law. So you know what, ladies? When you want to have certainty about something, you can always take whatever's happening, learn the laws of the universe, because those are the constants. Those are the things that rise above anything else that exists. It doesn't matter. Anything human made, there's the law beyond it. And if you understand those things and apply them in a very skillful, artful way, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're not going to be scared to death because there's contrast happening. If I know you guys are watching me, so give me a thumbs up or heart if you're resonating with what I'm saying here. How many of you have really had setbacks? Is there a setback? Like, how would you describe a setback? Because the other thing is they're on a spectrum, right? Like sometimes it's just something very small. Like maybe you're single and you had a date with somebody and you had those expectations and then it kind of fell through, or they didn't text you, they ghosted you. I mean, that shit sucks. But it's that contrast. And so many of the clients that I coach, it's like, why did that really happen? And it's like, again, we can get into this deep dive of how am I really going to handle this? What do I need to do to develop myself so that I don't have to be afraid? And it's also not about becoming bold through rejection and say, oh, it's okay, he wasn't right for me and this and that. It's like, no, that was a very important part. And from you getting from here to there, this person was a huge player. Julie, right, there are setbacks and then there are setbacks. That's right. Whoa. So and I say that because we're all working up to something here. So when we have a personal setback, it's kind of like if you have a loss, like if you lose a loved one, right? And right away, like people hear about it and they care. They care that you've lost someone, but you're the one really experiencing it, right? And it's like, it's like you're feeling this deep intensity, but do the others around you are they really able to hold space for you? Do they really understand? And then time passes and everybody kind of goes on with their business, and here you are still holding that thing. And it's like, do they really know? So that would ultimately be I wouldn't call that a setback, obviously, but some kind of trauma that we experience. So then it's like, we sit there feeling alone in our trauma. And those are the things that can be exacerbated by smaller little setbacks when something else doesn't go the right way. And we can be triggered and not realize it. You know, who here's ever been triggered by something and you're like, why do I feel so incredibly intense about this when it's really, I mean, people are saying it's not a big deal. You know, when people, then they don't validate the fact that you feel this way about a setback without then going over the border and victimizing yourself, right? Because we're not here as empowered women to victimize ourselves. We are here to learn how to walk through the archetype of the victim. Julie, sometimes the universe gives us setbacks to throw emotion, some kind of existence. That's right. Thank you, Denise. Yes. So it's like you want to be able to feel your feelings and process those feelings over this setback or discouragement. And yet other people might blow them off like they're not a big deal, right? So what if it's like, you're even going on a diet or something like that. And next thing you know, you kind of fell off the wagon a little bit and you're feeling really guilty. And somebody's like, well, you shouldn't do that, and they can be very hard on you. And so it's like, I can't deal with this setback because I'm too busy, being tied up in the emotional traumas that I've already brought forward with me. And what I'm getting to here is, as my dogs start to create a growling situation over there, is when somebody goes, oh, well, when one door closes, another door opens. And usually that has to do with you losing something or having a setback or something. And then you're like, well, thanks, but, I'm not really in a place where I can just look at it like this because I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot that's just going to be like, oh, whatever, sure, let me just look over there. Now, when you cultivate yourself as an empowered woman and you have a setback that's really intense for you, you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Denise, I dislike when people say it gets better with time. Whose time? Right. Because they're really blowing it off. And I'll tell you a key to that is they don't have the ability to hold space for you. And this is where, and I have my little chakra guy back here today. I don't know if you can actually even see him, but the reason why I brought this out is just in case I wanted to give you a visual, is because when in our throat chakras, when we're honoring ourselves and how we actually feel about something, it's really important to hold that space for ourselves first so that when we're ready, we can share it with the people that are going to hear it. Somebody that can actually just listen and say, I'm here. There's no fixing this. There's no fixing this. Now, if you're getting coached and you bring it to somebody, and the expectation could be, we're going to find a solution for this. What's the point I'm missing? Okay. So we have the setback, which is contrast, which exists because we live in a world of duality. It's 3D duality. And inside our program, Invincible, you learn all about that and what it means and helps you come to terms with things. And the reason that I love teaching this to people is because it's really just about giving yourself the space to relate to yourself first about how you're feeling about said setback or the contrast that you're experiencing. What is your relationship with this contrast? So, if it's something is happening in that moment, you can just stop and say, okay, say something happens at work and it's not the time or place to do anything. And you know what, as soon as I get home tonight, I'm going to get in a relaxed, clothing or state and go sit in my chair, and I'm just going to give myself some time. And I'm going to spend some time with myself and just allow it to have space. Because what happens usually is the setback happens, it's creating a negative trigger or something about your own self-esteem, and then we try to shimmy away from it. So there's other habits that we do. We can get busy. Well, we got to get home. We got to take care of the kids. We got to, take care of our family. We got to do this. We got to run for a work function. We got to do this. And then meanwhile, women, they push it down in the energy field. And here I even highlighted the sacral chakra here, which is orange in color. And so it's stored down there. I'm looking at Julie's post now. Most of us would love to exchange our setbacks for the setbacks of others sometimes, like the grass is greener, right? Yeah. One of my favorite stories is Michael J. Fox wrote a book years ago, and the parable was in there where God had all these people around a fire or in a circle. And he said, throw your problem in. Okay, everybody get rid of your problems. You don't have them anymore. And then he said, now pick a problem, like pick somebody else's problem. And they just pick their own problem. Because really on a soul level, that's what I mean. Like we start understanding what contrast is really there for. It's about not feeling like a failure if something's not going your way. It's about understanding the laws of the universe. And I actually brought my favorite, this is like the Wheel of Fortune card in the tarot. It's my favorite. I talk about this. I used to do videos on this constantly. And back in April is exactly there's a thing called the matrix that I was walking as part of my healing process, but it's the Wheel of Fortune. It spins and you never really know what you're going to get. And that's why in my last video, I think it was last week, I talked about where people, they just make themselves small and they don't even play the game of life. They're not going to play the game at all because they don't want to deal with the contrast or the conflict to create whatever that. And it's because you don't have the tools and the skills developed, because nobody teaches you how to deal with it. Everybody teaches you how to put your head under the stand and just keep pretending like everything's okay until it's not okay, till you can't ignore it anymore. Believe me, eating, drinking, whatever. Those are the things I would usually do. And some people even like take a positive thing and they just start doing more of that, right? I remember in exercise science, they're like, some people are addicted to exercise. And I was like, really? I mean, I like exercise, but I don't know, and it was because it was something that would give them certainty. When you do something like that, you're like, if this is so uncertain, then I'm just going to do this, because I know if I go and cook dinner, if I go and do this or go and do this, then it's certainty, right? So it's not that you can't go and do those things, but the idea is to become more aware of yourself. Wait, eating and drinking are setbacks? No, they're not setbacks, but for me, at certain times and spaces, they could have been dissociative behavior relative to feeling triggered from a setback, okay, or contrast I was experiencing in my life. Okay, so, but setbacks, what they really are is there's something that happens that detours you, right? And again, because of the extraordinary circumstances, if in fact it's creating something like, so a trigger, like we would probably call that a trigger. What are your triggers? Why did that affect somebody, but it didn't affect the other person at all, and the same thing happened to them, right? And so it's like, that's really interesting. So get interested in yourself about what that might mean for you, because one of the human needs, we also teach this inside our program, is certainty. Human beings need certainty. And did you know that in fact, if you have anxiety, it's because you have all of these stress hormones going and swirling around in your body, and there's no way to for the body to sort of execute them in something. And hold on, I love that the tarot card, my voice has become my new tool. I mean, 2 years of my recovery, hard journey. Congratulations. Lots of negative triggers. Exactly. So so when we want that certainty and we can't get it, then people will become anxiety ridden, because that almost becomes their new certainty. So if something happens, then that's the new habit, right? And that's a really extraordinary habit to create, but how many people out there have it? Depression's another one. So there's all these different things, and it's like, well, okay, what if I created a self-love habit? What if I created, like I said, you just come home and you're like, I'm just going to spend time with myself. Here's the other thing too that I wanted to mention. So if you have a setback or a contrast event, which is definitely how I usually describe them, and you want to sit there and say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would I say this is? Then you say, okay, maybe it's a 5. Okay. Then you'd say, where do I feel it in my body? Okay. Now, just let it be there. You can try talking to it. I mean, there's a lot of things that we'll do as coaches to help people work through these different things, and they're powerful, powerful things. And the thing about it is, you might get a couple of answers of what that thing is telling you, and the other thing is, then you can say, it's okay. You can leave now. You can leave now. So it's funny. So if you look at this tarot card again, so it's like swirling round and round, and it's like the lost souls, it almost looks like, right? And people are like, oh no, you got the wheel? That means the unknown is happening. Well, guess what? The unknown is always happening. When you walk through your walk, what happens is this. You start to say, that's right. I understand that this is the process of life. And that when I make conscious choices about my day, and that's one of the things we really want to provide here in this group, is for you to be able to be strong enough to say, I do have a choice to do what I choose, and to not react from the trigger, but to take time to see what it's there for, and then maybe learn some more tools to help me more and more and work through it. So it's really just like, oh no, this is just the process of life. Even with the holiday coming up and people feeling like things aren't the same and all this kind of stuff, I invite you to say, everybody's always connected. Nothing's over. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a matter of going within yourself. Because when this thing ends, it will be over, and you'll know what I mean maybe later. But Okay, so again, when you have these setbacks, you want to ask yourself, what kind of conversation are you having with yourself? Are you berating yourself? You know, we also study archetypes inside our Invincible program, and we always talk about the saboteur. The saboteur is going to sit there and start whispering to you all that bad stuff about yourself. This is why women have low self-esteem, because they weren't able to develop the personal power because of the paradigms in the collective that we reside within. And those things are also changing, which is why so much contrast is happening. So again, what is the conversation? And this was one of my favorite things I would say to people, you know, especially like in a workshop or a program that we would be doing, and somebody would share something and maybe they would be hard on themselves and say, well, this is what I would say to myself. And I'd say, well, you know, do you have kids, or do you have somebody you really love? And they would say, oh, you know, this person or my child or whatever. And I say, well, would you talk to them like that? If they came up to you and said, you know, I'm this, I'm that, I'm having this problem, would you say that? Of course not ever. But yet you're talking to yourself like that. So you want to become aware of yourself, and you want to create an understanding, because it's really, when you do that, you can see it's not about, I don't want to make another mistake. It's about, you know, I can go into this with understanding of the experience that I've already had, and I can, you know, focus on things. And here's the thing. Sometimes contrast happens where it is so out of our control, it is very scary. If that's happening, you know, the tool that I would say is like, you've got to sort of like put it up in the cabinet and be like, I need to go focus on something else. Anything else. I don't care what it is. And I know sometimes it's like we really get in that mode and stuff. And that's when we get really activated, and it's okay. Because you are not the only one that has ever felt that way. I will tell you that now. But if you are able to become that artist in your life and to develop those skills that get you, I don't want to say through it, but when you realize that this is, when you start to understand those things that are really difficult, that feel really bad, you get so much peace through that understanding. And you realize that I can understand it because it's through the lessons that I've learned, instead of saying it's just another thing. You're right, Julie, process can be scary, but it's just another thing that's going wrong for me because I suck or whatever else negative, you know, talk. It's tough. But this is what we're here to do, right? We're here to become empowered people, empowered women who choose their life and create that by design, which is absolutely possible. You know, it's funny, sometimes, like when you work down through core beliefs, and that's a whole skilled thing that, you know, again, you know, there is a time where you can become skilled enough to take yourself through that. But at the same time, when you're in a place where you can't get out of your own way, it might be time to reach out. You know, you can also personal messages. If you've got something going on and you want answered, you want to chit chat, feel free to send us a message, or you can click the link today to really see if you're right for the Invincible program, because that's something where we interview women for, but it's not right for everyone, because it's sometimes with the, you'll notice with the Wheel of Fortune, it's the divine, timing, right? It's about, I'm being forged into something to get ready to do this or this. And if it's not our program, maybe it's something else. We also have another beautiful retreat that we're going to be starting to send out stuff next week for. Don't miss that. This is where it's like, do you want to claim your life? Because that's what we teach you to do. We teach you it's time to stake my claim, because it's me, it's my life. And the only person that can live my life is me. And the other thing is that many, many people on this planet, when they really start to look inside of themselves and they think, I am operating from a place of survival. Everything I've ever done, as much as even if it was when I was younger and making choices, going to college, getting a job, it still was always out of survival. This life is not about surviving, it's about living. And the only person that lives your life is you. So I love teaching people to align with things so that the things that you really want to do and live extraordinary lives, you align with those. You need to know what they are. You need to be able to take your energy and align with them, which gets me to my next subject, which is vibration. Fridays, we're going to talk a lot about vibration. We're going to talk a lot about that because people really want abundance, right? They want to, a lot of times in our lives, it's money. Money is something that would provide us really with freedom of choice, freedom to relax, because we don't need to shoot ourselves all over the place or do all these different things. And that's why I have my picture back here. So let me just bring him up. Okay. So you can see this guy, he's got 7 chakras, and then he's got these little, you know, dots of energy around him that go all the way around, right? This is what the human aura is. And each one of these is connected to a chakra, right? As you go further and further out. And what happens is when you get those traumas and you get those triggers were happening, they're down in the lower chakra field, and then they sort of create these, I don't even like the word block anymore because it insinuates this dense thing that is an impasse. But what it is it just creates almost like a cloudiness, like a maybe denseness, but a cloudiness in the energy field. And what it does is, so it's like one day you're walking along, you're like, ha 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 ha, dee, 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 everything's going my way. And then it's like, and then it's in, my favorite phrase is, it gets in your craw. You know what I'm saying? When I say in your craw, it's up in there, underneath the rib cage, up in the heart, and it's just going to go like this. And you're like, And sometimes it's just an irritation, a frustration. It's an activation of something that's in your field, even though you can be happy most of the times. But now it's like, you know, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, give me a hell yes or something. If you're here now on the live or the replay, let me know that you know what I'm talking about, because this is something that I know I've experienced many times, and I thought, I got to get this out of my craw. It's getting in the way. Thank you so much. So here we go. We have the field. So that's why when you get energy work or you do personal care, it's really powerful because you have the ability to shift it. So that's why if you're having some kind of contrast, you can say to yourself, you know, instead of dissociating, you can move. You can go for a walk. Even if you don't want to, if you make yourself walk, it'll help move the energy. You can drink a big glass of water, okay? You can go to bed. Anything that changes your state, because the energy field is magnificent. It is magnificent, okay? So when we learn that there's something in there, that's what our vibration is. So, and whatever our reality is outside of us is consistent with whatever we are vibrating at. And when I say vibration, what I mean is, so if you had a radio and you were trying to channel in, or a TV, right? You want to turn your TV on and you want to go to a certain channel, you know, I mean, everything's like, you know, Amazon Prime and all that kind of stuff now. But you would go to that and you would see what, then you were in vibration with that particular, you know, thing. So, or the frequency, right? Like if it's the radio thing, it's a frequency. Now, back in the day, when we just had the old TVs and stuff, or if there's no cable function or whatever, you turn it on and it's all static. You don't have connection. So if you think about that static, it's chaos. It's like, shh. That's kind of what happens in the energy field. So, you know, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Again, you can get moving, you can do some stretches. I mean, there's tons of things, and you could research it. You can, if you want us to talk more about that, we can. But when you realize that it's like, I'm not in what we call alignment. So it's like my vibration is going into this staticky place. What do I need to do, or what could I do to create ease in my life so that I can just shift it back over here? Because again, all you have to do is plug it in, right? All you have to do is change the channel, right? Now, we're not robots, but it's like, how do I shift out of this? How do I change the channel? But a lot of times what happens is we get stuck in these places and we get more and more of this like sort of static energy that adds into our field. And then it's so painful that that's when we do the dissociative behaviors. We just, it's like, I just don't even want to deal, but I'm still here at work and that person's still there and I can't stand them or whatever's happening or what they've done. And I can't seem to get out of my own way. Which is, then all I'm doing is focusing on the same thing, which is giving me more of what I want because that's what I'm aligning with. So again, one of the main things that we teach in our Invincible program is your daily self-practice. And I remember early on, we had a bunch of people that were like, oh, you know, was it going to be a lot of work? Like, I don't know if I want to do this. It's going to be a lot of work. And it's like, first of all, it's never work. In fact, one of the things I was journaling about was like, you know, because I'll say work, you know, work indicates something that I'm going to effort into. But I also want to make it fun. So instead of work with the O-R, I was like work, you know, with W-E-R-K. Just having some fun with it because it lightens it up, right? So, but here's the thing. We always think it's a should, right? And so if we make ourselves a priority and our alignment priority, everything else falls into place. The conflicts go away. And if you're able to do this, you will see. And you will also see, right? Like, so a lot of people will say, okay, well, you know, I was in alignment, or I thought I was in alignment, and I had all these intuitive hits, and so I did X, Y, Z, but then this happened, right? it's almost like, say you were like, oh, I'm gonna go to dinner with a friend and this and that, and you get in a car accident or something. And that's when people are like, well, I was in alignment with my synchronicities. And it's like, that's the other thing. Humans, we want to judge things as positive and negative. We got to get out of that cycle, because all it's going to do is take us down the wormhole. Because the fact of the matter is that our inner being connects with us and puts us into synchronistical things that we vibrate with, so that we can move forward in our lives. And we become the artist in our lives if we're paying attention, and if we add those skills and we add those new things that need to come in. So alignment doesn't prevent setbacks. It helps you move forward in spite of them. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because one of the things, I think, one of the biggest things I realized about myself was my impatience. I don't know if it really was just my expectation, I think, of certainty. And I used to think it was my energy typing, which is a whole nother ball of wax. But I realized that if I wanted something, I wanted it fast, and I wanted it now, or it meant that I was a failure. And in the past, if I worked really hard, I was able to, get what I want in a fast manner. And, the thing about it is, and we taught this in one of our firewalks too, about the cosmic pulse. So the cosmic pulse is also when you're in alignment, right? It's almost like, boy, how did I get all that housework done today? Or how did I get that whole paper written in once? And, it's because I was just in alignment with those things. So alignment is something that creates alignment will create a connection to your true path and purpose, and what it is that you're really here to create, you will align with, right? So, and if it's something that I really desire, that I want to create, then I need to work on aligning myself. And again, that's usually when in personal growth, there's things in your vibration that need to be cleaned up. You're going to need support for that. You're going to need grace for that. You're going to need, some really kick-ass tools, And I just love it. One of my clients was in our Invincible program. We had a really powerful session last week, and she left a testimonial in the feed if you want to check that out. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. This is like an overnight change, if that's what you're ready for. If you align with something, what happens is the energy field clears, the pathway becomes open, and then all of a sudden, something that you just couldn't see for 20 years, you're like, oh my God, I get it. The ahas, the clarity, that's what we're talking about. So, we love telling women like, oh, this happened to you. Now, again, we have compassion for you. Absolutely. And we say, good, congratulations, because we get it. We know we have the skill to help you walk through the deepest, darkest path, if that's where you are, because there's always a light, but you're not always meant to see that light, not quite all the time, not right away. And I think, again, depending on the person and the things that have gone on, and realizing that a lot of those things are traumas that have happened that are stored in your field that really just need reconciliation. And we did a retreat to clear 2020, probably, it was right before Thanksgiving now. If you're interested in that, we can send you the link. It was free. We did a whole day thing. It was fantastic. It's on a separate page. But there's solutions. It's just about learning these different techniques, and then being able to be, I guess the technique we would always say is to be grounded enough, but to be aware enough to make a choice that's going to move you forward. Now, here's the other thing. Sometimes stuff happens, believe me, this year. I mean, I was devastated. I was crying daily for a long time. And then when the light started coming in, I realized that, I think I just lost my train of thought. The whole point is like, I lost my whole train of thought, whatever. So the lessons that we learned through our contrasts and how we deal with them. Oh, so, looking at them like, this isn't happening to me because I'm not good enough. You realize that you're good enough. And then you have to realize that on different levels, not just the conscious level, the subconscious level, and the unconscious level, which is where all these different archetypes and things are stored from the traumas that you've had. And the realizations that I had this year have been, amazing, profound, extraordinary, and it all makes sense now. But for the longest time, I wasn't able to, unearth them. So, and that's the other thing that makes me so pleased. Like when I do coaching with clients, you know, as soon as they have that in their mind and they get it in their conscious mind, that's when it changes. It's like you just got to bring it all up to the conscious mind so that you can come to terms with it, accept, understand, and that's when you have peace with it. So when it comes around the corner again where somebody might reject you, you're like, that's really weird. I'm just cool with it. Like I don't really feel that pain. And again, it depends on, you know, the degree of different situations. And so the other thing that you can say, and again, it's really about getting to know yourself through your own personal healing journey. But when things happen and you say, you know, I'm putting this meaning onto the what meaning am I putting on the setback or contrast in my life? What meaning am I putting onto it? And then you want to say, you know, why does it mean that to me? And then again, ask yourself where you're feeling it in your body. And just taking those small steps to give yourself that amount of time can really help you change quite a lot. Oh, that's what I was going to say. You know, sometimes when you have these things are so intense, you need to take some time. And you can even say, okay, I feel so horrible about what has happened that I'm just going to need to take the time. I'm going to take some time, and then that will be the only time. So maybe I'll take 2 days, maybe a week at the max, and I'm just going to allow myself to feel and behave and say whatever it is that I want to say. And maybe you do this at home or in public. It's really up to you. But not hide your feelings, right? You're not going to pretend that you're fine. You're just going to say, you know what, and maybe you say to your friends, and I know that especially with Cindy and I, it's like, you know, I need to express this. Can you hold space for me? And then you just kind of let it out, right? And you give yourself that time so that you don't stuck it in the craw and then walk for weeks, months, years, the people that really waste their life. Because now you're spending all this energy trying to maintain this thing that happened when it really just needs to be cleared, right? It needs to go all the way through the pipes to the other side. And then when your energy is clear, you have all this time and energy. You're like, wow, like my creative juices are flowing and this feels so good. And, you know, there's so many different things. But again, there's so much we teach you inside of our Invincible program. And again, if that's something that you're interested in, you can personal message myself, Cindy, and or click the link for your breakthrough call today. You know, we're really, really excited that you're here with us watching. If you know anybody that it would benefit, you could always share the page with them and have them join as well. If there's any other questions you have, like I said, you can message us or quickly put them on now because it's getting to be that time. And I hope that this benefited you in some way. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to the rest of December. You know, again, we get to choose how we feel in our vibration and what would happen if we choose to be hopeful and excited about what to do next. So, all right, I'm going to leave you with that, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. Mwah! Have a wonderful night, and I will see you later this week. All right, bye.